Good afternoon. Today is the 16th of September, although you're more likely to see this on the 17th of September, and belated this month because there's been so much else going on. We're going to look at the top 10 best-selling cars of August 2020. For those of you who are new to this series of videos on the channel, I know there's been a lot of new subscribers recently. You're very welcome. I'm going to look at the SMMT data, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, their data from the website, and compare the data from last month to August 2019. This will tell me approximately how many sales are going on. It actually registers vehicles registered rather than people when they put a deposit down or take delivery of a car, so it doesn't quite sync up exactly with the number of sales that are going on, but it's the closest thing we have. And if I call it sales or vehicles registered, then that's what I mean. So when we compare the data from August 2019, we will be looking at the percentage increase or decrease a particular make of car, a particular type of car, like a battery electric car, or say a plug-in hybrid, and we'll just be comparing the numbers and the percentages. So if I say something is up by 20%, that means the sales in August 2019 were 20% less than August 2020, although I'm very bad at maths, so I might have got that wrong. Really, it just shows a percentage increase, or literally the number that it is increased in the statistics table. It all sounds very complicated. I assure you it's really not that complicated, and without further ado, let's get into this. So July 2020 was a very interesting month because there was a significant increase over July 2019. August 2020 hasn't quite been like that. August is traditionally quite a quiet month for new car sales over the last 20 years since they changed the month that the plate goes over from one to another on new cars to September rather than August. That's been the case for about 20 years now. So it was the month for new car sales back in the day, but it isn't really anymore. The percentage decrease over August 2019 is 5.8%, and the private sales aren't so much reflective of this. They're only about 1.7% down. The fleet sales are 5.5% down, and for business sales, really, that are responsible for the majority of this. Now, they only make up about 1.7% of the market share at the moment. That's actually down from almost 4% last year. So business sales have really decreased, and they've decreased by 58%, which is a very, very big number. Diesels, predictably, they have massively decreased again. One of the reasons why I joke about we don't talk about diesels on the channel is because they're becoming, for a lot of people, just not very relevant in new cars. There are several cars that actually are diesel only. We've got things like the SsangYong Rexton, and of course pickup trucks like the Mitsubishi L200 and the SsangYong Musso. I've reviewed both the Musso actually quite recently on the channel, and they are perfectly suitable for diesel engines, and I don't think quite at the moment we've got some viable plug-in hybrid option or full electric option, but that will change actually too soon. But for general passenger cars, we're seeing a lot of plug-in hybrids being introduced now to replace diesel engines. For very high mileage drivers, they do make some sense sometimes, but they are unfortunately just on the decline, and it's about 40% for them between August 2019 and August 2020. Petrol is also declining. That's 40.7% of the change. The market share for a diesel last year was 26%. Now it's 16%. Petrol was 63%, and now it's 57%. So those are decreasing a lot. With battery electric vehicles, that's things like the Hyundai Cougar EV and the MG ZS EV. That is a 77.6% increase in sales over last August, and the market share has gone from 3.4% to 6.4%, so it's a very significant increase. Plug-in hybrid, massive increase in that. That's probably due to company car tax regulations. In a way, it's quite a shame that Mitsubishi are pulling out of the market, because for a long time the best plug-in hybrid in terms of sales was the Outlander PHEV. That was 1% of the market in August 2019, and in August 2020 it's 3.3%. That's a 221% increase. Hybrid electric vehicles, that's things like the Toyota Corolla that's only available as a hybrid now. That has gone from 4.3% last year to 6.4%. That is about a 38.2% change. Mild hybrid diesel, the example always uses the Kia Sportage 2-litre diesel hybrid. That's actually gone up by a massive amount. A lot of manufacturers are starting to use mild hybrid systems in their diesel cars now, and that's a 118% increase. Market share 2019 was 1.5%, and now it's 3.4%. Mild hybrid petrol, that's things like the Suzuki SX4 S-Cross, that goes up from 1.7% market share to 7.5%. That's an increase of over 300%. So certain segments of the market are massively increasing, none more so than the last one, the mild hybrid petrol cars. And Suzuki's lineup actually now is only mild hybrid electric cars, but obviously very big decreases, particularly for diesel and petrol. With the top 10 best-selling cars for last month, they're not particularly out of sync of anything. Although the number 10 on the list is interesting. Number 1 is a Ford Fiesta 3372. Number 2 is a Volkswagen Golf. I presume that's a Mark 8 now. Well, there probably are a lot of Mark 7.5s that have still been registered last month. 2570. It's pretty close all the way down now. Next is a Ford Focus 2391. Next then is the Ford Puma 2128. The Puma I would love to drive actually. I saw one at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in 2019 when I was a guest at the Planet Auto YouTube channel, and it does look very interesting. Next to the Vauxhall Corsa, which is a 2081. Vauxhall Corsa actually is a car that I have sort of reviewed on the channel. I did a walk around on both the electric Corsa E and the petrol model 1.2 Corsa F. It's very confusing because there's a Corsa E electric variant, but the whole model range is known as the Corsa F. Make about what you will. So there is actually a video of both of those on the channel. I'll try to put a link in the description below if I remember. Then there's Mercedes A-Class 1722, that's 6th place. Then the Volkswagen Tiguan, Volkswagen Polo. It's funny how the Tiguan is selling more than the Polo, considering how much more expensive it is. Then the Ford Cougar, despite the warnings there have been about the plug-in hybrid version of the Cougar. 1434. I think I said the figures for the Tiguan, the Polo, which I didn't. The Tiguan the 7th, 1645, Polo 8th, 1466, Cougar 9th, 1434, and the Kia Niro 1417. I don't know if the figures are actually counting the e-Niro, the electric one, with the hybrid and plug-in hybrid Niro powertrains as well. But anyway, yes, it's 1417, and that's in 10th place. Now we come to what is possibly my favourite part of these videos, and that's to look at all the manufacturers on the SMMT list and look at the percentage change in their registrations. So I sometimes will mention the number of cars sold. I'll sometimes mention the market share. But the most important thing is the percentage change in market share between August 2019 and August 2020. So, for example, Abarth in August 2020, they had 146 sales. That's a market share of 0.17%. And the change is plus 23.73%. That's a way that we're going to use for statistics. Now, bear in mind, the market is down overall by 5.78%. So anything above minus 5.78% is actually an increase in this market. So Alfa Romeo, only 77 cars in the entire month. That's not particularly good, and that is a percentage change of 63% and a market share of 0.09. That's it's not great. Audi, again, a big loss. I'm not going to talk about Alpine because it's such a minority brand. They are listed, but figures are largely irrelevant to most people. Audi, they are down by 33%, and their market share is down from about 10% to 7%. That's crazy. Bentley down by 40%. Not a huge market share, but they only sold 58 cars last month. BMW, in contrast to Audi, actually increased their sales quite significantly. There's a friend of mine called Tim who manages a number of BMW dealerships in the Midlands and the North, and he's probably working very hard to ensure that they've got good sales. So it's a 10.45% increase, and their market share is about 6.1%. Citroen, it's just below average. It's minus 6%. They are on a 1.9% market share. Dacia, they are up by 14.45%, despite not having already had any new models for a while. I know there are new versions of the Sandero and the Logan MCV on their way. They, yes, at 1.35% market share, about 14.5% increase. DS, they're not a huge player in the market at the moment, but they are down, rather like Citroen, but they're down a little bit more. I don't know, possibly because they're a luxury brand, by 21%, and their market share is 0.17%. Fiat, now the new model that Fiat have brought out has been the 500 mild hybrid. That is a brand new power plant for it. It's much better than the 1.2 Phi unit, and the sales seem to be stimulated by that, despite the fact that that design of car, the platform dates back, I think, to 2003 or 2004. Mr. Miller from the Miller Corner YouTube channel, who's a Fiat expert, would be able to tell me exactly when the Mark II Panda came out. But yes, it's nevertheless, it's pretty good sales for them actually. It's up by 22%, and maybe the T-Post Saloon's doing well too. I always make that joke. That's a market share of 1.23%. Ford actually have done pretty well. They've been on sort of a little bit of a decline for quite a while, but from last month's figures, it is a 0.73% increase, which is really good, and they are the biggest brand of all in this country. Their market share is 12.43%, and they sold over 10,000 cars last month. Honda, for some reason, in this particular market, they've not done quite very well for a while. It's a shame because their cars are pretty good, but you know, they do tend to be a little bit expensive. They had a 33% decrease in sales last month, and they have a 2% market share, which is actually a little bit less than Hyundai. Hyundai, they had a 14.5% increase. I don't know if that's down to one particular model or anything. I know the new i10 is now out. Just over 3,000 cars. Their market share is about 3.5%, a 14.5% increase. Jaguar, they also did relatively well. Their increase in market share was 0.95%. They sold just over 1,000 cars. It's a 1.2% market share, which is pretty good. It's much bigger for Jeep for some reason. So Jeep, they had again another reasonable kind of month. They sold 418 cars. It's a 1.7% increase and a 0.48% market share. Kia, for some reason in this country, are much bigger than Hyundai, possibly just due to the warranty, I'm not sure. The Niro is obviously selling very well for them at the moment, and that's a 21% increase in market share. They sold just under 4,200 cars at, say, 4.8% of the market. It's very impressive for a brand which just 25 years ago was absolutely nowhere really. Land Rover, 21.8% increase, even greater than Kia. Sold just over 2,000 cars, 2.3% of a market share. Lexus, for some reason, some of them do well, some of them don't in my experience. I'm not sure quite why. They had a 13.2% decrease in their sales. Their market share is just under 0.5%. It's 0.42, and they sold 368 cars. Maserati actually increased slightly. They don't sell a lot of cars in this country. It's a 0.06% market share and 56 cars sold, but it's still about 3.7%, which isn't too bad. Mazda, again, like Honda, I don't know why, that they have some very good cars. They just tend to be a bit expensive. I think a lot of people who used to buy Mazdas and Hondas in the past are actually now transitioning to things like Kias and Hyundais. Maybe due to the warranties or the prices, I'm not really sure. So they had a 25.3% decrease last month. It's 1.3% in the market and about 1,100 cars sold. Mercedes-Benz, quite a big player in our market actually. We'll just see against something like Kia. They actually sold far more cars than Kia did. They sold 5,200 cars last month. It's a 3.9% increase in market share, and it's 6% of the market overall. That's a pretty big percentage actually. Principally that'll be the things like the A class and the C class and all those SUVs they sell. MG, well, MG haven't had a bad month for quite some time now. They sold just over 1,000 cars. It's a 1.2% market share. That's about double what Mitsubishi is actually, which is interesting. 52.3% increase. Of course, I've got loads of MG content on my channel. If you want to see new MGs, just go and have a look at the Tweed Jacket Reviews playlist. I'm not going to bother putting those in the description below. Mini, another beloved brand in our market. The Mini standard one, the 3 and 5 door car, that sells very well over here. There is a 10.7% increase in market share compared with last year, and they sold just over 2,000 cars. It's 2.3% of the market. Mitsubishi, with the news that they are going to pull out of the market as soon as they've imported those last, I think it's 10 to 15,000 cars that are still to be sold. Their sales have been declining, unfortunately, for quite some time now, despite the fact they've got some excellent cars on the market. Planet Auto have just done a Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. They've done an ASX. They've done the L200. They've got some really good cars. It's just for some reason they've fallen out of favour over here. So 578 cars sold, 0.7% market share, and a decrease of 19%. Nissan, I think the new Duke's doing quite well for them. That's a much nicer looking car than the old one, and you know, I had a little look round one recently. I just happened to meet somebody who had the 2020 Duke, and it is a lot better than the last one was, which is one of the least favourite cars I've ever reviewed on Tweed Jacket Reviews, if you want to take a look at that on the playlist. Anyway, so Nissan, 3% market share, sold 2,600 cars, and it's a 12.6% increase. Peugeot, not too bad. I mean, it's a decrease, but it's above 5.8% or 5.78%, I think it is. So it's a 2.44% decrease, 4% market share, and total sales of 3,500 cars. That's not too bad. Polestar, which is a division of the company that owns Volvo, they sold 26 cars. Obviously, there's nothing to compare that with, so we'll continue on. Porsche, they sold 709 cars. They've got a 0.8% market share in this country, which makes them bigger than Mitsubishi. It's that's strange. That's a 9.8% increase on last year. Renault do very well again. I mean, crazily well. I don't know if this is due to the new Capture and the new Clio being on the market now. Those are both very much growing market segments. But yeah, it's a 49.9% increase, 3.22% market share, which is a huge jump, and yeah, 2,800 cars sold. Seat over last year, they're down an awful lot, 38%. I don't quite know why, especially when we look at the next entry on the list. They have a 2.6% market share. They sold just over 2,200 cars, but probably due to the fact that the new Leon's really not up to speed yet in the market. That's probably Seat's most important model, the Leon. It's a very, very good car. I did almost buy one of those, but yes, anyway. Skoda, huge sales in comparison with Seat. 3,600 cars sold last month, 4.1% market share, 28.6% increase in sales. Yes, you know, they've got really good cars. With the Karok's an excellent car, Kamiq, Fabia, obviously, Octavia, the new Octavia's out. I don't know why they're so disparate though, Skoda and Seat. Smart, 45% decrease. That was a very minority brand now. SsangYong, for whatever reason, last month had a big sales decrease, about 30% dead on, which is a shame. As you know, I reviewed 3 current SsangYong models over the last few weeks on Tweed Jacket Reviews. The Musso, which is the one I reviewed, was the new long wheelbase version of the Musso Rhino, and then the current Corando, which is an amazing car. Really pleasantly surprised by that, and then the new Tivoli. I recommend looking at those reviews if you haven't done so already. They are superb cars, and you know they do deserve more market share and more sales. The warranty on SsangYongs is the best in the business. It's a 7-year, 150,000 mile warranty. I honestly don't know why they don't do better. It's a real shame. They need to do better than Subaru. Subaru only sold 34 cars last month, and that's a 0.04% market share and a decrease of 34.6%. Suzuki, their prices have gone up quite a lot recently because they decided to make all their cars a mild hybrid or hybrid. I think they're mild hybrid. There might be some full hybrids in there, but actually most of them are mild hybrids. Their sales went down by 33.3% last month, just under 1,400 cars sold at a 1.6% market share. It's possibly because all the prices have gone up of the models. Before they were just normal petrols in a lot of cases, and now they're not. So possibly something to do with that. Toyota, again, a brand that we love over in this country. 4,100 cars sold, 4.7% market share, and just a 1.6% decrease, which isn't very significant. Vauxhall did very well, but possibly it's because their new Corsa is fully on tap now. They sold just over 5,000 cars, which is excellent. Compare with a lot of manufacturers as well. 4.3% sales increase and a 5.8% market share. Volkswagen are coming close to Ford actually. Although they had a decrease of 22.4%, they're still occupying 10% of the market. They're the really only ones who are challenging Ford, and that's 8,800 cars sold. Volvo, they sold 1,381 cars. It's a 1.6% market share and a nice 8.9% increase, so that's wonderful. So overall, the number of cars sold was about 87,200, and it was a 5.78% decrease. So there we are, some exhaustive market analysis. Some of you, I'm sure, really like it. I know Mr. Manning from Matty's Cars does. Hopefully some rest of you do. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more of the same next month, although this isn't what we do most of the time now. Don't forget to like this video and to leave a comment below. You can also visit my Facebook page, facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. If you need me to source a car for you, because that's actually what I do for a job rather than making videos on YouTube, which I just kind of do for other purposes, then please get in touch with me via my website, www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk. It doesn't have to be a new car, but it could be. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.